Hey, I'm Jay Kumar, the Bass Blaster, and this is your Seafoam Top 5 of the Week in Bass Fishing. Number 1.
People keep asking if I'm back, and I haven't really had an answer. But now, yeah, I'm thinking I'm back.
That's what Patrick Walters said to the bass at Lake Murray. He fished that lake a bunch when he was at the University of South Carolina, got 4th in the Bassmaster Elite there last year, and this time cleaned up. Woo! He led all 4 days and won by 12.5 pounds. He had an insane tournament that was all about catching schoolers blowing up around herring. It was the same deal everybody else did, but Patrick's familiarity with the lake and not being scared to leave biting fish were key.
I'm kind of getting bored here though. Never mind.
Yup, that's right. On the final day, he actually left a point where fish were actively schooling because he said, quote, they were schooling too much. Then he said, I know that sounds weird, but I just didn't like how they were set up. Worked for him. He said he did use Garmin Live Scope, but mostly to look for groups of fish and to see how they were setting up relative to the schools of bait and to look at the activity of the scene overall. His winning baits were a Zoom Fluke and a new, not yet out on the market, Rapala Jowler topwater. He also fished a mid-sized Zoom brush hog on a Carolina rig as a cleanup bait, and he mixed in a clutch darter glide bait in the bronzeback foil color. That's his 2nd Elite Series win in 9 months. Not bad. Hold on. Another win on a new Rapala bait? Number 2. New and or unreleased Rapala baits have now factored in at least half a dozen tour level event wins in the last year alone, and even more wins below that level. Think about that for a sec.
Crazy, insane?
Insane?
Yeah, that is crazy insane. First, it was Jacob Wheeler with the Rapala CrushCity freeloader last year. Then this year, it's been Dustin Connell and Jacob Wheeler winning with the still not yet released Rapala CrushCity Mooch Minnow along with the freeloader. And by the way, that freeloader hasn't even been on the market for 6 months yet. And now, last weekend, we saw the new, not yet released Rapala PXR Jowler 127, that's the full name, topwater that Patrick Walters fished to help him win. And Cody Huff also fished that bait, and he finished 2nd in the Lake Murray Elite. Now, I don't know what's going on exactly, but my neighbor Clancy was outside Rapala headquarters recently and was like,
what the heck is going on out there?
That's the $1 million question, Chief. Rapala's having a run like Strike King had years back. That's when pros like Kevin Van Dam, Greg Hackney, and many others were lighting up the tours with what seemed like win after win. Looks like a new bait development crew and some of the top pros in the game right now are crushing it for Rapala. Pretty soon, it'll be like,
You're gonna need a bigger boat.
Dang straight they will. Number 3. Zack Birge got his first red trophy. Okay, that's my New Jersey homie Zach Wild, but I'm talking about Oklahoma Major League Fishing Bass Pro Tour pro Zack Birge. Yep, that's him. That's the first Bass Pro Tour pro not named Dustin Connell or Jacob Wheeler to win one of their events this year. He won it at Eufaula, Oklahoma, and as you can see, the water was high and muddy. That was just the way Zach wanted it. Now he knows that lake well, having fished it a bunch in the past, even though he hasn't fished it much lately. And while he was a little disappointed that it didn't show out better, it sure showed out great for him. His main baits were a chartreuse and white Omega Rapture bladed jig with a 3-inch Reaction Innovations Little Dipper on the back of it and a Toad Thumper Poppin' Frog. Now I fished both baits on straight braid because it was all about getting those things into 1,000,000 pieces of flooded cover. Although we also fished flooded lawn grass. Now high and muddy water meant the scope deal was pretty much out. Now some guys did use it a little bit because hey, it's pretty much on all the time now, just like any other sonar. But Zach said basically the only thing he did with his electronics was to put a low water satellite image in his Lowrance HDS 16, so he knew where the flooded structure was. He actually caught a couple off a submerged guardrail. Now I asked him what he thought about winning his first red trophy, and he was like,
"Whoa, she's beautiful."
She sure is beautiful, man. Congrats. Number 4. In the recent Abu Garcia Revo Top 5 Baits, Techniques, and Trends of the Month, I talk about us being overdue for a jig skirt color revolution. But we're not really overdue because it's already happening. I know, man, I'm excited too. Anyhow, one color I showed in that deal is this one. That's a color Omega Custom Tackle makes called Psycho Shad. That's one of Zack Birge's favorite jig colors because it works for him and he feels like fish haven't seen it much before. And that's because, as we all know, they pretty much only see white, chartreuse and white, green pumpkin, and black and blue. Now that skirt color reminds me of this one. That color's called Peacock and it's made by Davis Bait Company. Davis Baits is owned by Will Davis Sr. and Will Davis Jr. fished that bait to help him win last year's Bass Nation Championship. Now you can see that Peacock color has a little more chartreuse in it than Zack's Psycho Shad color, but both have the same chartreuse, pink, white, and a little light blue color combo. Both those colors are a lot like one made by Arc, which is coming out with a lot of cool new jig colors driven by their pros like Wes Logan. Wes has some dynamite colors for his new Arc signature swim jig, and one of them is this. That's called Logan Lux, so you know it works for him. He says it'll catch him year-round, but it really shines for him in the post-spawn. He also said for fishermen not to evaluate jig skirt colors out of the water. He's a lifelong swim jigger, and he said certain colors really come alive in different colored water. So, could this color eventually replace chartreuse and white?
That's crazy talk.
I know, Bart, but there was a time when there was no chartreuse and white. So, number 5. Alright, what if you're on the lake, schooling fish are the only ones biting, and then they stop biting?
Thought we raised the stakes a little bit.
Okay, Mike, let's do that. What if that happens and you're in the hunt for a Bassmaster Elite Series trophy? Well, here's what you did last weekend if you're Lee Livesey. Doing donuts. Then this happened. It works. That's an oldie and goodie to fire him up. Love seeing it, man. Lee ended up finishing 4th at Lake Murray, and that definitely helped. And another way to fire him up was mentioned by the 18th place finisher, Mike Iaconelli. Mike talked about using the Hydrowave. Now, if you don't know what it is, the Hydrowave basically projects baitfish sounds into the water. And I can say that every single pro I've talked to who has one on their boat, and it's a bunch of them, they all say that at certain times it 100% works to fire them up. Now, another way to look at that is no tour pro is putting anything on his boat that doesn't help him catch fish. Especially the one and only Kevin Van Dam, who used the Hydrowave and was part owner in that deal, and its predecessor, the Biosonics unit. So next time you're on the lake and they quit biting, remember this.
All right, fire them up!
Yes, you can fire them back up. That's all I got for you this week. Thank you for watching. Thank you, Seafoam. Go to bassblaster.com or .rocks to sign up for the big, juicy BassBlaster email. See you next week. God bless you.